Intro. The whisper beneath the paint. The candlelight trembled in the stone corridors of Milan's Santa Maria delle Grazie, where silence carried the weight of centuries. The air smelled of lime dust, oil, and old secrets. On the far wall, beneath an arched vault darkened by smoke, stretched a mural that had outlived its maker, the Last Supper. For 500 years it had endured. Wars, weather, worship, and whispers. But tonight, for the first time since Leonardo's hand left the wall, the silence around it would break, because hidden beneath the brushstrokes of saints and sinners was not only paint, but prophecy. They called it the Supper of God. Yet those who had truly studied Leonardo's eyes knew better. To him, art was never devotion. It was encryption. The genius who could design flying machines before flight, who could dissect human hearts to understand the soul, never drew a line without meaning. And in this room, this cold, echoing refectory, his greatest secret had slept, waiting for eyes advanced enough to awaken it. The hand of the master. In the year 1495, Milan was a city of marble and intrigue. The Duke, Ludovico Sforza, reigned with opulent faith and quiet fear. Outside his palace walls, monks whispered about prophecies. Inside, Leonardo da Vinci mixed pigments in bowls of crushed lapis and vinegar. He was not just painting, he was watching. He studied the play of candlelight on the disciples' hands, the shimmer of bread, the curve of the wine cup. He spoke little as his brush glided across plaster, but sometimes his lips moved silently, as if in prayers or in code. "Maestro," said his assistant. "Zulei, breaking the heavy air. Why do their hands point in such strange ways?" "They look like signals." Leonardo did not look up. "Because hands," he murmured, "are the language men cannot hide." Days became years. The mural grew. Life breathed into color. But so did questions. Leonardo's notes from this period, written backward in mirror script, mentioned a supper that speaks, a truth in shadow, and a silence between mouths. No one knew what he meant. But the painting itself seemed to carry an undercurrent, a quiet rhythm of geometry and gaze that hinted at something deliberate, something designed to be discovered when men learned to look beyond sight. The secret of layer and light. 500 years later, in a laboratory hidden beneath Florence, light met history for the first time. A digital eye, an AI developed by a coalition of art historians and engineers, scanned the Last Supper layer by layer. Each sweep of its lens penetrated centuries of decay, pulling data from shadows Da Vinci himself had brushed into existence. At first, the machine found nothing unusual: patterns of pigment, traces of lead, and the ghostly fingerprints of the master. But then, in the dim blue spectrum, symbols began to appear. Faint, curved marks buried beneath the table, between the folds of robes. The AI paused, recalibrated, and scanned again. The same shapes appeared. To the human eye, they were meaningless fractures. To the machine, they were letters. Ancient Italian reversed. Leonardo's signature mirror hand. The scientist stared as the first full word emerged. Ombra. Shadow, then another. Verità. Truth, then two more. Tradimento del cielo. Betrayal of heaven. The lead researcher, Dr. Rossi, whispered in disbelief. He wrote beneath the paint. The AI processed further, cross-referencing every discovered glyph with Da Vinci's original codices stored in museums. What it returned was impossible. The phrases matched fragments from his private journals, some lost for centuries. Together, they began to form a voice. The voice of a man who had hidden a message for those who would one day uncover it. The message in the motion. As the translation progressed, a pattern emerged. The placement of words followed the golden ratio, spiraling outward from Jesus' hand. Every disciple was connected to a phrase. Beneath Peter, strength without sight is ruin. Beneath Thomas, doubt is not sin, it is vision's mirror. Beneath Judas, the hand that takes gold also takes blindness. And beneath Christ, hidden deep under pigment that no restoration had ever reached, the AI found a line that froze every scientist in the room. Truth belongs not to the saints, but to those who seek it in silence. The words shimmered in spectral light like a voice from the dead. Dr. Rossi leaned closer. He wrote this for us, no one spoke. The hum of the machine filled the silence. The team began to realize what they were reading was not a commentary. It was a confession. A warning, perhaps even a prophecy. Further scans revealed another cluster of phrases near the ceiling arch, a spiral of numbers and letters that, when decoded, formed a final sentence. Faith without reason is the sleep of truth. Those who wake shall see what was forbidden. It was signed with a small, nearly invisible emblem, not a cross, not a letter, but a mirror image of Da Vinci's eye. Drawn into the shadow behind Christ's head, the room went silent. For the first time, the machine itself paused, as if even code needed breath. The Church in Darkness. When the news reached the Vatican, the bells did not ring, but whispers spread like wildfire. The Church summoned the research team to Rome. Dr. Rossi, exhausted but resolute, stood before a chamber of stone-faced cardinals. On the wall behind them hung crucifixes blackened by age. One cardinal, his voice sharp, asked, "You claim to have found words, written beneath the sacred image?" "Yes, Eminence," she replied. "They are in Leonardo's own hand. And they suggest," he pressed, "that divine faith is blind?" Dr. Rossi hesitated. "They suggest that truth is larger than faith." The chamber fell into uneasy silence. Outside, journalists camped on marble steps, hungry for revelation. Inside, the church debated what to do. Some wanted to suppress the discovery. Others saw it as proof of Da Vinci's genius rather than heresy. But beneath their theology was fear, not of the message itself, but of what it could awaken in the world. Because if the Last Supper contained a deliberate challenge to blind faith, then the very foundations of centuries-old authority trembled, the vision reborn. Months passed. The painting was sealed under renewed protection, and access to the AI data restricted. But data, like prophecy, cannot be buried for long. A copy of the decoded manuscript leaked online. Millions read Leonardo's hidden words within hours. Historians debated. Priests condemned. Philosophers rejoiced. But among them was one man who saw the message differently. Father Matteo, an old Dominican scholar who had spent decades translating forgotten gospels. When he read Da Vinci's phrase, "Faith without reason is the sleep of truth," tears filled his eyes. He whispered, "He saw what we refused to see." Matteo wrote an open letter to the Vatican. If Leonardo's hand revealed these words, then God himself allowed it. For perhaps faith and reason were never enemies, only estranged brothers. And the Last Supper was not blasphemy, but warning that the divine dies when man stops questioning. The letter spread like fire. By dawn, it had been read by millions. In Florence, a student gazed at a digital rendering of the painting projected on a museum wall. Beneath the surface, the glowing letters formed a spiral of light, words curling like breath around Christ's figure. She whispered, "It's like he hid time itself inside paint." The prophecy of light. Years later, historians called it the awakening of the wall. The AI decoding of the Last Supper became a symbol of the 21st century, not for the fear it caused, but for the questions it dared to raise. Leonardo's hidden messages were now accepted as genuine. Yet what mattered most was not their literal meaning, but their spirit. They reminded humanity that knowledge was sacred, that silence could be dangerous, and that truth, no matter how long it sleeps, eventually wakes. At the Santa Maria delle Grazie, the mural still hangs. Tourists come and go, unaware that beneath the colors the ghost of a man still speaks. When the last light of evening brushes Christ's face, faint reflections ripple through the cracks of paint, as if the mural itself remembers. A guard once claimed that on quiet nights, when the church empties and the air grows still, he hears faint whispers near the wall, a voice not in Latin or Italian but in thought. Those who look with faith see the story. Those who look with reason see the truth. But those who look with both see God. And perhaps that was Leonardo's final secret. Not a code, not a rebellion, but a bridge. Between art and science, faith and reason, heaven and man. His prophecy was never meant to destroy belief. It was meant to awaken it. And so the story of the Last Supper continues, not on plaster, but in the mind of everyone who dares to ask, what if the greatest miracle of all was not what we believe, but what we choose to see?